Hi guys, I'm Annie. I'm just going to show you my Scottish bikepacking setup. So it's on a fat bike just now, but just had to, it's the same thing. And we're starting off with the all important wobble test. Okay, so just a bit more detail on what I've got. Using a Revelate pocket and then harness with dry bag. I've got my water bottle holder, 2 top G bags, frame bag and my seat bag. Now you can see I ride a small and I don't have a huge amount of clearance. The good news is that doesn't move much, so I can get away with that. But if you're on an extra small, you'll probably struggle to fit on the full 40-litre seat bag. So before I start unpacking everything, this is not a fast and light setup. This is my comfortable setup, and it's kind of what I use for 2 to 10 days out. It doesn't really matter. It'd just be the amount of food that would change. And in Scotland we can probably get food every day to 2 days, so you don't need to carry loads with you. So I'm just going to start by unpacking the different bags and showing you what goes in all of them. Okay, so I use the Revelate Tag pocket. I really like it because I know that my stuff's safe from the rain, because it always rains in Scotland. And this is where I keep my electronics, my camera and things like that. So it's padded out with some warm gloves and a nice warm buff. And then in here I'll have things like my camera, my battery pack, if I'm alone, my remote triggers, spare lens, that kind of thing. Okay, so my front dry bag. This is the Revelate Salty Roll, and it's amazing. It's such a solid dry bag. I've had this one for like 6 years and it's been on pretty much all my trips and it's still waterproof. So I put everything in here that absolutely has to stay dry. So it's pretty much all my sleep kit. And also in each end will be a waterproof, so you don't get away with staying dry in Scotland, unfortunately. So waterproof jacket, and then either waterproof shorts or waterproof trousers depending on the weather. To be honest, I'd probably start out riding in my shorts because they're nice and light and it just stops my bum getting wet and gritty from the start. So this is like my warm stuff for the camp, keep me nice and warm. So woolly hat, nice warm fleecy top, my sleeping mat. I use the Thermarest Neo. It's not the smallest or the lightest, but it's really comfy and I like it. Silk liner for the sleeping bag, keeps it nice and clean, adds a bit of luxury. And of course the really important sleeping bag. Now I can only afford one, so it has to do me for pretty much all year round in Scotland. And I'm quite a cold person, so I also like winter camping. So I've got the Radney Tuna 400, it's -4 bag, and it's hydrophobic down, which I think is quite important for Scotland, especially if you're out for a few nights in a row, because otherwise things just get really damp and minging and horrible. In summer it's a little bit too warm, but I can just have it open and use it as a quilt. And then in the depths of winter I'll wear like my jacket and stuff inside it to stay warm. Okay, so inside my mag tank I have my snacks for the day. And some people ask me about what food I eat, and I'm afraid it's really boring. So things like oat cakes, nuts, a little bit of chocolate in case I get really grumpy. That's kind of what I live on during the day. And in my little jerry can, this is kind of the useful stuff that I want accessible during the day. So I've got my multi-tool in there. And this is super important for Scotland. This is a midge net. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? So if you've got a mechanical or if you sat around camp and the midges are out, you need one of these or your life is misery. And then I've just got things like some sun cream, penknife, and I carry paracetamol because I get headaches. That's all in there. Okay, so the frame bag. So I carry just a couple of straps. If something breaks, it's really easy to fix it with that. And then this is where my food lives. Again, I eat really boring food. If I'm out with a week of food at a time, I'll get a bit more nerdy, but just for a night, things like couscous, soup packets. Breakfast is always like oats, protein powder, some chia seeds and stuff in there as well. Yeah, more nuts and stuff. Milk powder, very important for tea. Then also in here lives some tools and spares. So, proper pump. In here is like tubeless repair kit. Ooh, hot chocolate. Tape. And right at the bottom, spare tube. Okay, so the pocket on the other side of the frame bag. This is the toilet pocket. So this is new, I haven't had time to use this very much yet. But this is a Cooler cloth, it's a pee rag. So I'm absolutely fed up with the amount of like toilet tissue that's everywhere. So the idea is you use that instead of toilet paper, don't drop any anywhere. And then I carry dog pee bags for packing out tissue as well. You could burn it, you could bury it, but I'd rather just not leave it behind because I think it lasts way longer than most people think. And then the all important poo trowel, which this is a good steel one. Yeah, no excuses for not digging your holes and burying your poos properly, because let's be honest, no one wants to see that, so get rid of it please. Okay, so onto the seat bag, and I think this is probably the hardest one to pack. I'm not a good packer, I tend to be quite a lumpy person, and the revelated hairpin really helps me get away with that because it is super solid. And it's the one I think it tends to have the most movement of any bag, so you do have to be quite careful when packing it, especially if you've got anything solid in it. So I have my stove and my tent pole in here, which are hard objects, so you have to be really careful and pack around them, so that you don't end up with things rubbing and you get holes in your dry bags if you're not careful. So I have, right at the top, my balls and spork. Then I have my warm jacket. Now for Scotland that's going to be Primaloft or artificial insulation. Again, it means that I can just wear it if the weather's bad, I can still stick it on. If I'm wearing down, it will just get wet and clumpy, and it just tends to be a bit more durable over here. Tent poles. This is my stove, or what's left of my stove. So I bought a jet boil a really long time ago and I've lost most of the bits. So it's the pot. There you go. And my gas. Somebody asked me how long I get out of gas, what I'd use. So if I'm on my own, I can get about 3 nights out of 100. If I'm out for a week, I take a 250. 100's neat because it just fits into the pot like that. And then also in there I use a striker, one of these guys to light with. And just to stop everything rattling, a little hat tucked in there. Warm fleecy tights. Again, really important for me because I'm a cold person, so if it's been quite wet, damp at the end of the day, the best thing is just to get something like that on. And that pads out my tent and stuff in here really nicely, and again stops those hard edges being near the dry bag on the outside. So tent, I'm really lucky. I've got some lovely high flight tents, so I tend to take the Durigo if it's just me. It's nice and small. It's really important to pack the ends of your dry bags properly, and then they fit much better and you get less wobble when you're riding. So packed into the end of that I have a really small first aid kit. What I carry for first aid will depend where I'm going, how long I'm out for, how remote it is. Tends to just be some big wound dressings and loads of tape. And then little luxury item, Primaloft booties, which is just lush to have at camp. Sorts out those cold feet straight away. Okay, so that was my Scottish setup. And I should say that if you're just starting out and you don't have loads of money, Don't stress too much about getting kit. So I've been backpacking for like 10 years, and I think for the first 3 years I didn't have a mat or a stove, and I just had like a really old cheap sleeping bag. So you can make it work, you don't need loads of fancy kit. Just go out with what you have, be sensible. If you don't have loads of warm stuff, maybe don't go out in really bad weather, but go and have your adventures, and that'll also help you work out what you want to spend your money on, what's going to be really worth it for you. Any other questions, comments, please let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them for you.